Hello, the channel. People, I don't know if people are actually taking the mickey out of that or not, or whether it's a serious thing. I know my wife's definitely taking the mickey out of it, so there we go. So it's been a big week. There's been lots happening. We're coming up to Europe, coming back properly as well, and out of the blue, we got that big roadmap from Sorare. I recorded at the time, obviously going through it, giving reaction to what was happening. It wasn't live, but I did record that as I read it. So what I thought I would do would be give some more thoughts on what's happened. I know that other channels have all given their thoughts and their opinions, and there's been loads of videos and everything on it. So people can't be bothered at this point, and they'd rather just move on to their SO5 or whatever, then that's fine. But I thought it'd be kind of useful to do a follow up on that just after digesting exactly what's happened. So, in connection with the update, the first thing obviously that Sorare said was, like passion, ownership, and connection. Those seem to be the sort of three pillars. On the passion side, Sorare was trending, so there was definitely a lot of passion coming out. Everybody was live. I was doing a video. People were doing podcasts at night time. The timeline was flying with different things. Who likes this? Who doesn't like this? Debates, all that type of stuff. So one thing that's definitely struck home is that people are definitely passionate about Sorare. There's no two ways about that. In terms of getting into the actual points, I know I'm on camera here, but I've got some of the stuff in the background on my own machine just to sort of look through the different things which have happened. So first and foremost, the new kickoff mode, which obviously is just a wee bit confusing because we have a kickoff at the moment, which is just a bridge between the different scarcities. I like the idea behind it. I think one of the issues just now with Sorare is that Sorare obviously promised and launched a mobile app. With having the mobile app, you've got Sorare data as well, and I spend a lot of time on Sorare data. There's a deliberate reason for that because Sorare data is the app that I used previously, and there's different things that will be on Sorare data that will never be on Sorare. So Sorare data are going into certain levels of the stats, etc., whereas Sorare's more itself about selling the players and obviously entering the tournaments and all that type of stuff. I understand why they can't just sell players through the app, because if Apple want to charge like 30% for that or whatever, then that just destroys the profitability of the business model. So with the mobile kickoff thing, I think that could be quite a good thing. The pros and the cons would be if people would just prefer to play that for fun and not actually buy any cards, then that's clearly not a good thing. But if it opens up to the masses, then it could be good. So for example, it could be that. Sorry, just get a notification up here talking about viruses and stuff. Hopefully my internet history isn't on the screen because that happened before. Anyway, say on a Friday night you've got Bundesliga, it's Dortmund against Bayern Munich or whatever, and that's the feature match on the mobile app, and people are obviously going to the pub or they're engaging with their pals, and people are selecting lineups and stuff and see who can get the highest scores. And there might be a link in there to the actual site from a point of view of, maybe you could win some soul coins on the free to play mode. Maybe you could actually win some cards. Maybe they could do some 8-week long formats where people could, come from the more traditional end. Maybe say, well, yeah, I've selected my FPL team, but there's this 8-week long thing in Sorare, and I can win some money. I can win some cards as part of that, and then that just gets them in towards the game. I think one of the major issues just now is getting people to come into the game and stay and buy. So obviously we had the Global Cup and everything, and I thought the Global Cup was excellent, but it doesn't look as if we've actually retained all of those people. So, if we could focus on that, or if not, as Sorare can improve that, then that is certainly an improvement and will help obviously in terms of the growth of the site. Onto the sort of gameplay changes, etc. here. So firstly, no Saudi Arabia. Bit of a topical one now, talking about Mbappe going to Saudi Arabia. Dearie me. that's an unbelievable one as well. But yeah, I mean, obviously focusing on Mbappe's situation, he's obviously not happy. I'm really surprised he never went to Real Madrid in the first place. He should just have gone there, like when his contract expired. But now you've got this hiatus situation where he's got a year left in his contract, and PSG are not happy with him. And at one point, I thought he was supposed to be selecting players and himself and everything and all that sort of nonsense. So maybe he's left himself out. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, you could maybe see him going to Saudi Arabia for a year. The problem is, you could also see him going to like the EPL or whatever. But there's financial fair play considerations, and our team's going to make a big investment in him, knowing that he's going to Real Madrid the next season. Whereas Saudi Arabia might just want to get him, obviously, for a small amount of time. So would they sign him up to a 1 year contract as well? That's interesting. I'm sure if it was available, then they would. So Saudi Arabia is definite no go. At least people know that it's definite no go. I mean, it takes away all that uncertainty or people actually going and buying those guys with a bit of a gamble they might play. And personally, I bought a Benzema, but obviously with that team that Benzema's playing for, there's Asian Champions League, and those games will run. I think they should run midweek, so they should be on maybe a similar time to some other good midweek fixtures, and that will still get some utility. But obviously, other teams in that league might not have any continental competitions, which are covered by Sorare as well. In terms of other changes, Super Rare only allowing one into Unique division, that won't affect many people. I think the consensus in terms of people who own Uniques, etc., is that actually to give a bit of scarcity protection, that's a good move. There's plenty of Uniques now. They're selling plenty of Uniques. There's plenty of Mados like Flow State around. There's obviously Pranksy's come in and invested a lot, which is really good to see, and doing a lot better from what I can see from that in terms of some other NFT projects as well. So yeah, I think from the top end of things, I think that's there's nothing really to be worried about from that point of view. The other change that's been made is in connection with the season bonus as well. So as of September, even if there's no new cards for the new season, then the current season bonus is going to go. So there's 6 weeks notice in that. It's not a huge amount of notice. I mean, I said myself, obviously I picked up a few cards recently and picked up like Bongonda and bought a certain card because there was a sort of, I'm getting apologies, I was rudely interrupted by my wife there. And so yeah, obviously Bongonda is a guy I bought. One of the cards I bought, the rare, was the older season card, and the limited ones I bought were the Cadiz cards because I thought that the season bonus was going to continue. But anyway, it's not going to continue now, and I totally see the point there. If anyone doesn't understand that, what that really means is, say you bought the Bongonda Cadiz card, the 5% season bonus is there, he moves to Russia. Because there's no new cards minted under the old rules, then he would keep that 5% season bonus for the full season, and then, if he's scoring pretty well there, that card can become a wee bit overpowered because you've got the 5% added on to the other normal XP bonuses as well. So that's an interesting one, and I think that makes more sense. Now that when the season kicks off, the season bonus will go. It'll be interesting to see how that affects auctions because, for example, there's a sort of drop dead date there where the 5% season bonus is going to go. So, what's the point really of auctioning older season cards like in a couple of weeks' time? I hope they scale that back a bit. Also, with rewards as well, and I know this sounds a bit selfish because I always win a lot of rewards and stuff, but say you win the All-Star Rare Pro, say you have a great result, say you get a top card, and then that the next week the bonus is going to go to 0. Now, obviously, you can keep that top card, but if you're playing that top card against other top cards, then you're starting at a huge disadvantage. Plus, the biggest effect is it's not as tradable. So, with the season bonus, 5% being in, the card is more tradable because you're always starting at a minimum of 5%. That always applies even if you trade it to somebody else. So, there's a marketability of the cards in terms of having that 5% bonus, and that's one of the reasons why people buy them at the start of the season. So, they buy them at the start of the season because initial levels are, a wee bit more generous than the later levels, and also it carries the 5%. And obviously you have things like collections and everything as well. So we'll talk about bonuses and collections and everything now as well. I think obviously this has been the biggest point of controversy in terms of the fitness bonus. So my immediate reaction to it now after digesting everything is I don't really like it. I just don't like it. I think it's just marginally artificial in terms of you've got your real life stuff, and I get the point about, in real life about people being fit and everything, but we're buying cards that have fitness in real life and get rotated, so just seems to me to be slightly artificial. The bit I like about it is people are always talking about sustainability of Sorare and talking about if numbers go up, you've only got a certain amount of cards that you can give out. From a point of view of the scarcity, they're not maxing out the limiteds, and I think they're pretty much maxing out the rares and things just now, but they're not really maxing out the limited. So there's still more cards to be given out, but the downside of giving out more cards is that as you give out more cards, there's more supply in the market. And we have seen with like second divisions coming on and things that sometimes that can just dilute the prices overall. If you introduce more teams and more cards, you need to introduce more people buying them. Otherwise, there'll be drops. And just in terms of general scarcity, things which are more scarce tend to hold their value better as well. So we're now getting into a realm where we'll have, potentially season bonus, collection bonus, fitness bonus as well. The main thing I don't like about the fitness bonus at the moment as well is the fact that Sorare haven't actually given any details of it. I get that it's a roadmap and stuff as well. So yeah, all right, it's a roadmap and we'll release details later and we're giving you 6 weeks notice and all that sort of stuff. But, people don't know how aggressive this is. So, you start at 10%, you get to 0. So does that mean if you use your card every week that by the end of the season it's going to be at 0 and you're having to go into your pocket to spend some money or your soul coins to regenerate it? I'm not a game economist or an economist in general, but what I don't like about that is that if you pay a certain amount of money for cards, and cards which are more utility tend to be higher value cards. So if you get somebody who's a goalkeeper in the championship, for example, they always go for a bit of a premium because they play lots of midweeks, they play lots of fixtures, you get max utility. As another example, if you get somebody who plays Champions League and is also maybe their international goalkeeper, you're getting max utility as well. And then you're saying, well, they're going to be unfit. You can't use that too much. Oh, they're going to be unfit. Now you've got to replenish them and stuff. So this might not affect me so much because obviously I churn out a lot of soul coins and I could just use those soul coins to regenerate it depending on the cost. But yeah, I don't think I'm a big fan of that at all. I think that actually has a potential for affecting the card's value because when people buy that item and people want to own it, then they know they might have some associated running costs with it. So that's the downside stuff. The bit I do like about it is Sorare being more agile, and if they make it priced or they price it up appropriately, if it's nice and cheap, it's not expensive at all, then they could get lots and lots of micro transactions in. I think it was Sorare Turbo Milkrain mentioned the point about getting into the microtransaction market. So if people own these cards and they're choosing not to buy other cards and just sit on them, then if they're spending a very small amount of money and that all adds up, then that could be good. Sorare could use that for various things. They could use it to make the site more sustainable. They could use it to fund some of the prizes they pay out elsewhere. They could put it into the 8-week-long leaderboards that we're getting, whatever, even if it just makes the site more sustainable. From my point of view, and I've always been really honest, I want to still be playing this game in 5 years' time. I still want to be around. I don't want to be selling up next week. I know that some people will be saying, well, if I've got a good amount of value, I need my exit strategy and everything to be lined up. If I'm getting lots of engagement, I'm enjoying it, and I get some wins and I can take some money here and there and stuff, then that's enough for me at the moment. Obviously, you have to always reevaluate that, and it's a personal decision in terms of what happens. Things can change as well. A daft one is I've got a bit of a sort of frozen shoulder just now, which is hardly surprising with all the different clicks, and it's probably from clicking buy on Sorare throughout the years. But your health is really important and things to people. So, people can have a change in personal circumstances and they might just say, well, I just want that money out. I just want to sell up. I don't have time for that, etc. So things can change through time. I won't blather on about that too much, but obviously loads of different considerations. On the training centre side of things and the fitness and the physio packs and things, so it's now been confirmed that rather than having these academy teams, then you're going to be back to another sort of model of the training like before. I hate that. I'm sorry. I just hate it. Like, so if you're a big gallery, then you're just introducing a huge ball ache in terms of getting these guys in and training them and stuff. So obviously we need all the details of how that actually relates. You know, if you put somebody into training rather than a game, does it affect their fitness? You know, do they get XP but they become unfit because they're still training? All that type of stuff. I just don't really like where you're having to choose whether you play somebody to keep them fit or not. I mean, I like the tactical element of it. So what I would say is that if I keep this big gallery, then I'll have advantages and disadvantages over smaller users. Smaller users got two teams. They can stay right on top of fitness, what they want to do, what they want to plan, all the fixtures, what's coming up, dead easy. If I'm entering 50 lineups, then I've got choice. I can switch guys in and out if I keep all my gallery, and maybe I can play somebody who has a slightly higher fitness bonus, or maybe even a duplicate of a card. But I don't know how I'm going to stay on top of all of that. So I'll do a different video on planning the gallery and everything later, because that's something I always have a look at the start of the season. But there's loads of considerations there, and it just as I said, seems verging on gimmicky. So I hope Sorare don't go daft with these things when we're talking about gimmicky things and artificial things to make you pay. Okay, you know, it could bring some game engagement and it could be all right, but I hope they don't go too far with it. What I would say as well is that people didn't like collections when it came in, and people are all, you know, largely a lot of people are collecting now, or there's a lot of love for collections. People didn't like Lister play. I understand that, but and it certainly is less fun maybe if cards aren't available on the market, but it does do a good job in terms of controlling floors, in terms of the theory of you can't just buy somebody at 2 o'clock on a Friday, get them into the tournament and sell them at half free. So that's overall I think is doing a good job, and we'll need to see the different details before we obviously move forward with gallery plans and strategic plans, etc. Regarding the 3D cards and the development of cards, I that's something I quite like as well. I think we're always going to move in that direction. When you see these cards and you see the different dynamics of them, then it makes the older cards look a bit more retro. So personally, I love my Celtic collection from the first season of the Celtic cards, and you know, I wouldn't want to change them in any way. Let's put it that way. If they maybe said there's a back of the card and you could flip the card over and it gave you some stats or whatever, in terms of what you've won with them and things, that would be really cool. But I obviously wouldn't want to change them. You can't really, obviously, once they're minted, as they're minted, they stay as they are. But you could as part of this update have better ways of displaying things. So one thing that really thought was quite interesting is I'd love to have like Mohun Stadium and build Mohun Stadium and have green seats. I know I'm a maniac, but it'd have to be green seats. And it'd be quite cool to go into like your trophy room and things. And then there's scope there. I think there's scope to develop that. Like one example I gave is like if you're on like your iPhone, you've got your photos. If you go on a trip, like a certain amount of time later, they've got this wee program where it kind of pulls up photos from certain days, and you name the trip, and then it just generates this wee kind of movie where you've got your different pictures or videos as part of that, and it asks you if you want to save it. So it would be quite cool if Sorare, for example, could develop like your career story, for example, where it just goes through and shows you the different trophies or different milestones or major trophies that you've won. So I think there's loads of scope there, and I think moving in that direction is actually quite good. And I think that Sorare will have a few tricks up their sleeve as well, you know, from that point of view. In terms of that, that's all really what to say on it. I think the major thing which doesn't have a lot of focus on the actual roadmap update is we've moved from Fiat Wallet being coming soon to coming very soon. So maybe next week will be very, very soon. But obviously everybody really wants that to come in. if you're a bit newer, you might think, well, why is that relevant? Well, firstly, when you try and get people to sign up and you say it's an NFT game or it's a crypto game or whatever, a lot of people just put off, I can't be bothered with that. No, that's fake money and it's too volatile and all that type of stuff. So, there's a barrier to entry for people buying in and obviously being able to just pay in pounds and pay them back out would be a lot easier. From the point of view of the fiat wallet as well, recently Sorare have turned off card transactions for the secondary market, and actually I think that's holding back prices quite a lot just now. There's guys who just can't really get their money into the platform. People complaining about ramp. I think Nicholas also said that in the US, around 50% of people get sort of blocked or stopped or just can't get money in through the on ramp. So if you can buy at auctions and things, that's fine. But you might not always want a card that's on auction. You might have a collection. You might need a card from previous season to complete that. You might have a certain guy who just doesn't have an auction just now. Particularly maybe if you get into rares or super rares where things are auctioned a bit slower. So Fiat Wallet is a huge project, and hope really that the Fiat Wallet is out before September when all these sort of changes come in. So these fitness bonuses and the current season of the season bonus cards and everything, that all seems to apply to September. So let's hope that's in and up and running and working well soon. So yeah, that's another 20 minutes of you having to listen to me mumble. But the videos been doing these things have actually been pretty popular, to be honest. So we did a wee video on like under £20 tips and things. And actually the videos with the Euro gallery builder stuff or the lineup picks and the collection stuff and everything have all been pretty popular. So I'm going to wrap it up soon. But just as a general thing with Sorare, obviously I think that one of the advantages I've got here is having experience in different platforms. I think I'm quite level-headed with these things. I see people reaction to these updates and things, and sometimes people love it, sometimes people hate it. Sometimes people overreact, etc. And actually, if you're going to make a plan, if you're going to decide to do something, then just take a wee bit of time to think about it. There's loads of good content out with people deciding what they do and they don't want to do. Take a lot of that in and have a think about it. If you are going to maybe sell up a few cards and go in a different direction, etc., then waiting for the fiat wallet might not be the worst thing to do as well, because when the fiat wallet is activated, people who have maybe wanted to pay in a wee bit of money or whatever will use that opportunity, particularly maybe at the start of the season when they've got the whole Euro season ahead and planning who they want to hold. So that might bring a wee bit of additional money into the market. Obviously, just to be balanced as well, it could also mean that people want to take some money out as well, so when people pay this money in to buy cards, other people could say, well, that's great, I'm skint, I've just been on holiday in July, so I'll take a wee bit of money back out things. So it works both ways too, but traditionally the start of the season is quite an important point in terms of price points and things like that. It's a weird one this year as well because you do have the additional Saudi Arabian thing where people are becoming red X or blue X cards and they're going out of commission. So I do think that when we get to the end of August and the window's shut and then you've got an additional period of a couple of weeks, and I think there's a couple of international games on then, that you might see some sort of turning points after that. In terms of what happens with card prices between now and then, I'm not Mystic Meg. Obviously the market's been relatively stable so far, which is good. I do think when cards are in usage that a lot of them will come off the market and it will be good for prices generally. So an example of that is the lad Simsair I won from Mididdyland, as I call them, Big Diddyland. And he was playing at the weekend and he was one of the main forward cards available, and somebody said, why is this guy become extinct? There's only one card available and there was no limited listed. There was one limited listed, no rares listed, and that's because people were using them. So he didn't have a good game or whatever, but people were using them and he was off the market, and now if people's teams are dead, then they may well choose to list them. But that's a good example of that. And you've got Messi making his debut last night, absolutely brilliant. There's still a few Messi cards listed there, but most of the ones I can see listed are the 1 and 2% ones as well. Final point is just regarding the bonuses. I probably should have mentioned this earlier. There has been a slight change in terms of the initial levels are a wee bit harder and the later levels are a wee bit easier. So with the fitness thing coming in, there's been a slight rebalance from that, and that'll be interesting to see in the market as well. But I guess the message that Sorare's given to people is you want to buy cards, you want to collect them, and it's more of an ownership thing. It's not just a case of you want to buy this guy for this weekend and sell him on a Tuesday. It's more a case of planning out your next 8 weeks, planning out your next 2 months, planning out your season, buying a young guy, following his career. It's more about that than it is about just buying a guy for one individual game week. And I don't mind that message. It does align with how usually I run my gallery. Having loads and loads and loads of cards, always focusing on having young guys because it's less of a maintenance and connection with just actually deciding that you're going to hold that person for a number of years. You might sell them at some point, but mostly, as you'll see in my gallery, mostly guys really aren't listed. They're just waiting there to become a backup goalkeeper that's going to play, or they're just waiting to see if they get a good move, like an Arda Güler becoming a superstar at Real Madrid. So, I started with hello the channel, goodbye the channel. I'll speak to you all soon. I hope everyone has a great game week. Hope we get some more information from Sorare soon, and more importantly, hope you're all having fun and enjoying it. Thank you.